Sabbe sankhara aniccati yada panyaya pasati atanibindati dukkhe esamago visuddhiya. All conditioned things of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity. Thus spoke the Buddha.
Bhante Yogavacara Rahula, thank you for being here. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to George Petre and to Aletheia Association. The path and the way to purity. This, the words of the Buddha. You are a Theravada monk, but you choose to this extraordinary way of life, which I may consider it to be plus 7 stars resort, all inclusive, the here and now living. But before entering in this wonderful space of your life, you served in the US Army in the Vietnam War, and I know that you saw what means destruction, hatred, and all the dark side of human being. After that, you become a monk, but not immediately. You travel in India and through lots of adventures. Yes, Bhante, we are always discussing about the mind. We are reading lots of books about resting in the nature of the mind. But yet, we are not living in the here and now. Please, shall we begin with this important place? What is the mind?
Well, the mind probably is the most mysterious phenomenon in the universe. And scientists are able to map out the universe and show, all the different solar systems and galaxies, and even, recently they discovered, sent a probe to Pluto, 5 billion, billions of miles away, but still they're not able to adequately describe what this mind is. Now, psychology is trying to describe various mental states, and with the modern neuroscience, they are telling the various centers in the brain that are able to process information. But as far as understanding the nature of consciousness and how the different mental pathways and the mental contents are interreacted and conditioned, that they've failed to adequately describe that, even though they are still trying. So within the Buddhist psychology, there is distinguished between consciousness and the activities of consciousness. So the mind, when we say the mind within the Buddhist context, we refer to both consciousness and the activities of consciousness, or the process of feeling, perception, recognizing, memory, and volition.
So the objects of the consciousness.
Yeah, those are the objects of the consciousness itself. Consciousness itself is basically the cognizing faculty, is more or less just like the light that allows us to be aware of both the body and the mind from moment to moment. So the consciousness is sort of is the light of the consciousness, is the light that allows us to be aware of things. But the mental content is the feeling, perception, memory, and the decision making, and the actions that we take.
The consciousness may exist without any objects.
In the highest levels of meditation, yes, it can basically remain aware without any content except the consciousness itself.
An awareness beyond subject and object, beyond duality.
Yes, when we go beyond the subject-object duality and the perception of individual objects, then consciousness morphs into what you could call pure awareness.
Pure awareness.
Awareness without any objects, and even without the sense of I or self.
It is a kind of nothingness from the perspective of the phenomenal world.
Yes, from the ordinary view it would seem to be nothing, and sometimes it's described as nothingness, but it's also fullness at the same time. Because that nothingness is a fullness. Or sometimes it's no thingness, not nothing, but no thing.
No thing.
So no thing is occupying consciousness.
No thing.
But the subtle vibrations of consciousness itself and awareness, the light of awareness is still there.
Modern psychology, for example, I think of Freud and psychoanalysis, consider that this kind of state of pure consciousness without objects, it is impossible, because this would be possible only when the body dies. Freud considered that the body gave us in every second stimulus and perceptions, and we cannot escape from being bombarding with stimulus. So this is, I think, the problem of modern psychology, that they actually ignore this possibility and they consider the consciousness only being a dual consciousness.
Yes. Well, that's the meaning of ignorance, is to ignore the facts or ignore the truth in this sense. And because these modern psychologists and scientists have not practiced meditation to any deep level, they have not cultivated the mental faculties to discern the subtlest vibrations of consciousness without the objects. But this is why the Buddha stands out as one of the great masters of meditation, and the wisdom of the Buddha that was able to discern the true nature of the mind in its most essential purity. And that may not be able to be measured with scientific instruments and gadgets.
Yes, but in this pure state, higher state of meditation, the body still, of course, is working, but in fact, I'm asking you, how do you experience this high state of consciousness? As if the body does not exist anymore, your body?
The process of meditation is a gradual process, and you don't immediately experience those highest levels of transcendent awareness. So, and usually it takes a long time or many years of practice to gradually be able to sort of control the activities of the mind and to develop those deeper levels of awareness. So it's a gradual process. First you stop reacting to the stimuli, and then you stop even perceiving them as being individual objects. And then, like the feeling of your body, parts of your body might kind of disappear from your consciousness. And as you stop reacting to stimuli, then the process of memory, perception and memory get sort of short-circuited. And so the mind stops creating its mental pictures out of objects, and the mental stories, the past and future connected with those objects, that stops to function within the consciousness. So the consciousness, what we call, becomes more expanded. It's not confined within the idea of this physical body, even associated with me. I am hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching these objects. That fades away out of the mind on its way to this complete transcendence of duality.
A gradual process, so years of practice.
For most people, yes.
For most people.
Yeah.
So, what is the correct attitude towards meditation? So, shall I start to meditate in order to obtain this highest state? Because this is, I think, the problem. Why to meditate, and what is the goal of sitting, of being mindful? Because mindfulness means, in effect, no goal, isn't it? Please, Bhante.
Well, in a sense there is a goal, in a sense there isn't a goal, but the starting place, in the Buddha's teaching, the starting place was to understand what causes us suffering, what's the nature of suffering, and what is the nature of happiness. So he didn't immediately start with the goal of trying to transcend duality and experience emptiness. He started out with trying to understand what blocks or prevents our mind from experiencing its intrinsic vibration of contentment and happiness.
The blocks, yeah.
Yes, so his teaching was to understand how the mind creates our suffering from moment to moment, and once you understand how our mind creates its suffering and what these blocks are, then you can gradually work on reducing them and gradually removing the blocks to the state of being in the present moment. The blocks that keep our mind trapped in the past and future. These are what the blockages of the mind do. They keep the mind trapped in the memories, fears and desires and hatreds and the memory of the past, and projecting that into the future. And people's minds are largely trapped in that.
And those imprints are strong enough to keep us, in fact.
That's all we know. That's all the average person knows.
Yes.
They don't know anything about the present moment or about kind of just pure awareness or just being.
Yes.
They're always doing and active from the moment they wake up in the morning to the moment they go to sleep. The mind of the average person is constantly active, doing things, and largely moving between past and future. And so the beginning step in meditation is actually learning how to slow down that activity of the mind and learn how to be more centered in the present moment.
I've noticed that you are never in a hurry. You are walking in a certain rhythm slowly. You are doing things slowly. And I think that this is very important, the rhythm. So is the rhythm of the physical body connected also with the possibility of observing more precisely what's happening with us?
Basically, yes. And the Buddhist teachings of meditation, of course, the causes of suffering lie deep within the mind. The sufferings and delusions are within the mind, but we can't immediately access the mind, the average person. So it starts with being grounded in the body. The body is considered to be the home and resting place for the consciousness.
The body.
Yes, the physical body. And the mind operates through the nervous system of the physical body, basically. And the mind basically is just processing the data that comes through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and even the mind itself, the sense stimulations. The mind is processing all of those at a very high rate of speed, and then creating our idea of ourself reacting to these stimulations.
An idea, this idea is also a collective idea. The I, the identity, our parents are telling us, look, you are this name, you are, wow, this is a trap.
When the baby is born, basically it has not much any memory, it doesn't even know what things are, but then it starts seeing objects and the parents say, that's a dog, that's a cat, that's your daddy, that's your brother, sister, and through the whole life we start learning language. So it's very directly connected with language and perception. Perception is the way the mind recreates images out of sensory vibrations, basically. And there's a very nice saying by the Buddha that the world, the arising of the world, the ceasing of the world, and the path leading to the ceasing of the world is right within this body and mind, this body with its nervous system and consciousness. And so that basically how we experience the world is a running sort of videotape that the mind is recreating at every moment, giving us the impression that we're somebody separate, seeing objects outside of ourselves, and that's basically all the average person knows, and they get caught and trapped within that world of dualistic perception.
Bhante, we are here in the television studio. I see and your image, I hear your words. So are those images and words the creation of my mind and my body-mind? So you are not objectively existing now?
Well, kind of yes and no. The vibrations, the physical vibrations of the color that are color and shapes that are striking your eye are real. And the sounds you're hearing, they're sound vibrations. But when you look at me and you say that's a Buddhist monk, that's in your mind. Your mind is creating that. And your mind is also fixing on this form and separating it from all the background colors and shapes you might see. That's the nature of perception, is to create and pull out of the immense background so
to
many
separate,
things,
in fact.
to separate it
Yes.
out and see an object that stands out as in time and space and separate from others. That's the function of perception, and that is what the mind is doing from moment to moment, also with sounds, smells, taste, touch, body sensations, and thoughts. It's so that's the mental process, the mental created process that's going on moment by moment. Now, through meditation, you can temporarily suspend that process, and you can enter these altered states of consciousness and awareness, in which the feeling of your body and things like that may disappear, because the brain is short-circuited. The process of meditation is basically a process of short-circuiting the normal habitual circuits of perception, reaction, memory. Yeah.
So supposing that I can access a higher state of consciousness now, I will perceive the same images without knowing what are those images, a continuous word without signification, yes, and I will find that it is not me and not you, just a continuous experience of being here. Something like that?
There are many different levels of this kind of experience, as I mentioned previously.
Yes.
In some cases, the perception process will slow down and you're still vaguely seeing things, but the mind is not, again, bringing in the past or future about them. So that affects the way that you're going to think about that object, and that gets more refined as you reach deeper and deeper levels of concentration. That process of perception and thinking gets more and more refined until you can enter states called the Formless Realms, in which the physical world will actually disappear from your consciousness. But if you open the eyes, I mean, basically the things are still there, but this is a state of consciousness that you get into. And normally your eyes would probably be closed while meditating in those states. And then even reaching the very highest level of the ceasing of perception and feeling.
Ceasing.
Yeah. But for the Buddha, for example, somebody who's attained enlightenment, they would still see the same things as you're seeing now and hearing, but they would appear kind of in an opaque or transparent kind of feeling. He would see the emptiness at the same time as knowing that they're solid, but seeing the essential emptiness of them at the same time. And that is seeing the relative and absolute truths at the same time. But that's only available for people who've attained basically, full enlightenment and freedom from conditioned consciousness.
What chance do we have, Bhante, to access those states in this life? Are many people who are living in crowded cities capable of practicing enough to realize those states?
Probably 98% of the people, no. But there might be a few rare individuals who perhaps could do that. But that would have probably been possible only if they had previously done some cultivation or practice, which means even from a previous life.
Previous lives.
Yes. But the goal shouldn't be to immediately try to access those. The Buddha recommended that the goal should just be try to understand how the mind gets trapped in its negative patterns of thinking and speaking and reacting, and to purify the mind of greed and hatred, and to purify one's karmic actions so that you can reach a state, to live in a state of being more peaceful, not necessarily with those ultimate states of consciousness, but learning how to just transform your life from one of a neurotic and busy life and full of lots of greed, hatred, and delusion that keep our mind in fear, guilt, worry, remorse, and fear, and other negative states. To purify the mind of those first, then you'll be more ready to then go on to experience deeper levels of mental liberation.
This changing process of consciousness and growing the capacity of being aware, it is possible in what kind of meditational settings? In collective practice or in loneliness, in a kind of personal retreat?
Both, but normally for most Western people, the meditating in a group or learning to meditate in a group setting gives them more discipline to do it. It's very difficult for a person to learn by themselves because they don't have discipline. It's not that the technique is difficult, it's their discipline is difficult. The discipline to sit still for a longer time and to not to react to painful stimuli.
Oh, this is very important.
And also not to get bored or restless, thinking, what time is it, I want to do this, I want to do that.
Yeah.
That's what prevents people from being able to develop deeper levels of concentration and mindfulness. Those are the two mental powers that we cultivate in meditation. It's called mindfulness and concentration. And then the third one comes out as wisdom. These are considered to be the spiritual faculties inherent within the mind: mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. These are what we cultivate during meditation.
Bhante, do you accept to guide me through a short practice of meditation in order to have a taste of the practice?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Yes.
Thank you.
Basically what that involves is just the way we teach all beginners is to first just use the body and breathing as a kind of the main object for the present moment, and to learn how to just continually remember that you're sitting and breathing. And that's one of the simple definitions of mindfulness, is to remember. To remember the present moment.
That I'm here in my body and
that
I'm
you're
breathing.
Here and now. Your body is here and now. It's sitting and breathing. That's sort of the bottom line present moment. And everything else is coming and going. But the body is continually breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. And try to keep remembering that, letting go of your thoughts, letting go of any pains in the body or distracting sounds. You keep letting those go, come and go in the background, and just try to feel as much of the sitting body, but especially of the breathing process, feeling the sensations of the expanding and contracting sensations of breathing in and breathing out. Or if you could feel the subtle touch of air as it's going in and out of the nostrils, or just to feel the expanding, contracting sensations of the abdomen and chest.
Shall I keep my eyes closed or open?
You could, I would say, kind of just gently close them, or you could open them just a very little bits where you might just be looking at the bell, but normally we recommend to gently close them because so many distractions may come through the eyes. So I'll just give you a short little experience of that. So first of all, just try to sit straight, keeping the head and back straight, You keep the chin parallel to the floor. And first of all, just feel your feet and knees pressing the ground. Feel your hands touching together. Just feel the general outline of the sitting body. And then begin taking some deep, slow breaths. Try to expand your abdomen, rib cage, and chest. Hold the air in for 1 or 2 seconds. And then slowly breathe out. And we can combine this with sending out some thoughts of friendly thoughts. So take it on a deep in-breath, thinking, may I be well, happy, and peaceful. And on the out-breath, thinking, may all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. And on the next in-breath, thinking, may all beings be free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance. And on the out-breath, thinking, may all beings be free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance. And let your breath return to its own normal pattern. And just keep feeling the body, the sitting, breathing body. And just keep remembering or making these mental notes of breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Just keep remembering that much. Just breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Just letting go of your thoughts. Letting go of any distracting sound. Just let your thoughts and sounds come and go in the background. Keep the feeling of the sitting, breathing body in the front of the consciousness. Especially with each out breath, just allowing the body and mind to relax more and more into the present moment. If you get lost in thoughts, recognize it as thinking. Just let go of the thoughts. Keep coming back to find the body grounded to the floor. Take a deep breath to Bring your attention back into the breathing. Just try to observe the body and mind just sitting there, thinking from a place of onlooking, detachment. If any itches or pains arise, just observe them as they rise up, come to a peak, change. Just keep the body and mind relaxed and open. Just try to feel subtler sensations of the breathing process. Try to notice the whole in-breath from beginning to end and the brief pause. And to notice the whole out-breath from beginning to end and the brief pause. Just try to feel a subtle shift in the vibration of your nervous system, the more relaxed observation. Just letting go of thoughts of the past and future. And as the mind stops reacting to the sensations of the body, stops being lost in its thoughts, get a sense of the consciousness expanding to a more expanded awareness. And if you can get a sense of it, just allow the little sense of the I that's watching. Just let that sense of I fade into the background. Just see if you can feel like an empty house. The body, nervous system, and mind is like an empty house, with nobody at home to answer the call, knocking on the doors and windows. But there's still the awareness is there. Like a microphone being in the house, knowing what is there but cannot react or think. This is the beginning to being able to directly see the true nature of the body-mind experience, to experience the more expanded, liberated dimension of awareness. Just cultivate relaxed mindfulness in the body and mind. When one is relaxed and concentrated in the body and mind, moment by moment, then one sees reality as it really is and overcomes confusion and suffering. Okay, now you can take a deep, slow breath and gradually bring your mind back into the body. On the next in-breath, stretch your head back and arch your lower spine a little bit. And lift the head up. On the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest. And lift the head up level on an in-breath. And relax on the out-breath. And you can slowly open your eyes. So that is just a kind of a brief sample of the process of meditation.
Yes, thank you, Bhante. Lots of phenomena happened in my inner space. In the first minutes, there were some images of being in a hurry. My mind was creating the thoughts asking, for example, wow, but we are here in the middle of the television program. What are my colleagues what are saying? What is this? I have to escape from this state. And then I felt different sensation in my body. On a certain moment, I felt that I'm losing the control of my body, and this scares me a little bit. And after this, I tried to regain the control. What's happening? I have to control, and that my thoughts go again, come again in this kind of. And after, but is it okay to do this kind of exercise in the middle of the program? The television viewer will find this interesting, or will they zap? Those kind of things. And it takes some minutes when you are saying about an empty house, that I taste a little bit of peace and of space, spaciousness. Yeah. And I was thinking, wow, we need time. We need time and practice in order the thoughts are set a little bit. Otherwise, no chance. And again, the thoughts were coming and pushing me to be in another place, in another state, not here. Infinite game.
Yes, well, that's the conditioned mind. And that's what most people are trapped in. And it doesn't allow them to just to sit down and become peaceful, because it's coming up with all these things, and, you know, what should I do? Or this is not productive.
Yeah,
you know, what are good people going to think?
Yes.
That's the ego-driven mind, and that's what we're actually trying to understand, how we're trapped in that. And it's a very limited way to live. And it's not the very happy state, because there's fear, worry, and anxiety there.
The problem is maybe that we consider that this is all that we can live. We are not trapped. This is the living, and 98% of the people are considering that there is no chance of living different.
Well, fortunately, more and more people are starting to change their opinions about that because of the advances in medical science, and because of the popularity of meditation. Now, over the last 30, 40 years, the practice of meditation and mindfulness practice is gaining clinical recognition, and they're doing experiments with using mindfulness to overcome anxiety and stress, even pain. Is being taught in hospitals. Psychologists are even suggesting their students, their clients, to try meditation in certain circumstances, because they're starting to recognize the positive value of it for this this purpose, is to learn how to relax the mind and free it from its traps of self-centered preoccupation and the unnecessary worries and fears that come with it. And that the problem is that until just recently, medical science hasn't really offered any advice on that, and instead they just give people pills to try to cure their anxiety or their other mental neurosis, or, you know, sitting on a psychiatrist's couch, which may be useful in some situations, but eventually people need to learn how to observe and control their own thoughts and mental processes, if they really want to learn how to.
Yeah. So how to deal, in fact, with the pain, mental pain or physical pain? This is the problem. So when I was under your short guided meditation, I felt those kinds of some kind of being scared of. So in the first moment I tried to escape, not to observe. So what to do when we're feeling those negative emotions, feelings, pain?
Well, there's two levels of pain. One is the physical level, but then the mind doesn't want to accept that physical pain, so it gets tense about it, and it tries to struggle and get away from the physical pain, and that creates the mental pain. So there's both physical pain, but then there's the mental reaction to it, which is even worse. So the mind is like a magnifying glass, and it blows up whatever we see or feel in the physical dimension. It blows that up and out of proportion as the mental reaction to it. So we have to understand both levels, what is the physical pain, but knowing that the mental pain is the additional reaction. And there's a saying that pain is a given. Physical pain is a given in life, but the suffering is optional. So suffering is actually the mental reaction to the pain, the struggling. I don't like it, I don't like it.
And you reinforce it, the
You
physical
keep reinforcing it because we cling to the body as being mine and myself. And we've been trained at a very young age to want to get away from pain. And at the slightest little discomfort, unpleasant sensation, we are constantly doing things to get rid of these unpleasant sensations and pains. By changing your posture in meditation, for example, or trying to brush off an itch or a scratch or a fly. And so we keep on reinforcing these ideas that these are painful feelings. But when you learn to observe them and relax around them, you realize, well, the pain's not really that bad, that you can actually learn to tolerate it. And you can be relaxed even while tolerating it. And as you tolerate it, the pain will change and vanish in most cases. And that you haven't wasted your time and energy in trying to remove it because it'll vanish by itself or change. And then you become quite happy when you learn that you can actually endure these various annoyances, unpleasant feelings and pains. You can endure them to a great extent. But people have never tried.
Never tried.
And so that's the first stage in meditation. First we have to deal with the mental the physical pain to learn how to relax around it, and then you relax the mental pain. And then you can, using that as a foundation, you can then apply the same logic to observing painful mental memories and so on, and learn how to even relax around those and not let our painful emotions to get trapped in them as well.
Unfortunately, we have only 5 minutes now. And it is very important, Bhante, about dealing with the pain. So there are certain times when we feel overwhelmed about the pain. And we cannot, in fact, observe. So this is maybe the core of the process. How to change the being overwhelmed to the capacity of observing what's happened with you.
Well, by developing mindfulness, concentration.
When you are not in pain, in fact.
Even when you're not in pain, or when you sit down, you can start out with minor, not pains, but let's say irritations, like a little itch. Or some other minor little uncomfortable feeling. Because they're not really painful, and you can look at them. And you tell yourself, oh, discomfort, discomfort. Or itching, itching, and try to just watch it, because it's not really painful. You can do it, but you have to get this sense of detachment or onlooking awareness. You have to have the attitude of a scientist, that's conducting an experiment, and so you're looking into this body and you're saying, oh, there's itches here, there's the stinging sensations, there's little aches and pains, and learn to watch those first. And as you're able to watch them without trying to get rid of them, you can then advance to more stronger types of pains. And even then it's a gradual training, like anything else. Like lifting weights, you don't immediately start lifting 100 kilos, you start with 10 and 20 kilos. And so on. So the same way with watching our pains and other reactions to things, we start out with the smaller ones first, and as we build up that the mindfulness, then we can then move on to stronger ones.
Yes. We have, I think, 2.5 minutes, and maybe it's a moment to thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing us to hear the words of the elders.
It was my pleasure. And I just want to finish with one more Pali chant.
Pali chant.
Yes.
Yes. Please, and thank you again. Hope we'll meet again. Thank you.
Imina punya kamina mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya. by the quest of learning about the mind and the practice of meditation, may it help me to have contact with more wise and spiritual persons, to be able to avoid the negative and unhelpful people until I'm able to finally experience the complete end of suffering and happiness, and the final happiness.